Hi, my name is Aphinda. I'm with Active on Demand, and today we are talking mental health. Okay. The year was 2016. I had started my first big job, and I had an anxiety attack. I crashed out and passed out at work. I was later diagnosed with anxiety disorder. Really swept it under the carpet. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it. Life had to move on for me. But it caught up with me eventually in the year 2021. I was crashing once again, tried to commit suicide, and found myself admitting myself voluntarily in a psychiatric hospital. And that's where I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And that's where the journey started. In the beginning, it was just the pits, because this is something new that you need to accept. It's something new that you have to come to terms with, and you have to understand. And being the first person in my family who was actually accordingly diagnosed with bipolar disorder, it's a very lonely road. It affected everything in the beginning, that is. But as time went by, the more I went to therapy, the more hospital admissions I went through, it became easy to deal with. But at the beginning, it's a very dark, lonely road, especially if you don't have the right support of loved ones who understand what's going on. They also don't understand what's going on, so you almost feel like a burden to people. You get what I'm saying? But as time goes by, given that you do accept professional help, it does get better day by day. That you're going crazy. Somebody who's not well informed about mental health, the first thing they think of, oh, she was in, they've lost their mind. They are incompetent to logical thinking or rational thinking and so forth. That's always the misconception, is that you have officially lost your mind, and it's not like that. It's just, what people don't understand is that mental health is a physical chemical imbalance in the brain, where it's a chemical imbalance of emotions most of the time, specifically with bipolar disorder. It's when you are feeling a certain emotion, but your brain doesn't register it in time or accordingly, that, okay, we are angry, but okay, now we need to regulate the anger. Do you get what I'm saying? So because your emotions get all over the place, people just automatically think that you've lost your mind and you don't have self-control over yourself. That's the biggest misconception that there is. And it's not even a misconception. It's not a misconception. It's a stigma that needs to be erased from society, because I'm not losing my mind. Yes, I've got challenges with regulating my emotions, but as I said, with professional help and so forth, with the right help, you do manage to find your way around it. For me, I will tell you this. One thing I struggled with is anger. That was the most difficult emotion for me to deal with when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I get triggered very, very easily. Till this day, I'm not saying I got triggered, I get triggered very easily. And obviously, as I previously mentioned, management therapy has helped me with that. So day to day for me, to deal with anger is the treadmill. It sounds like the cliche, like, I'm not joking. That's just my remedy. If I'm angry at something, I just make it a point that I go to the gym and I go hard on that treadmill, or on the, what do you call it, the boxing, the punching bag. So that is something that I do. But in terms of other emotions, I remove myself from things that are triggering. I remove myself from conversations that are going to sadden me. Something that I recently decided to do is really cut back on social media. I think we shouldn't be seeing so much pain. It's not normal how much pain we are seeing on a daily basis. I mean, for example, in Palestine, it drove me to depression. Just knowing every day that they are bombing kids. It's
Yeah.
like, are you mad? Why would you bomb children every day?
Yeah.
So things like that. You have to make conscious decisions based on how well you want to live your life and how you want to keep living a positive, healthy life. I'm not saying everything is always positive, but what is going to be healthy for you? So for me, removing myself from situations, removing myself from social media. If I am angry, I go to the gym. For example, if I have anxiety attacks, I have my doctors on standby. I can call them and say, I'm having an emergency. I cannot control my anxiety attack. Although I do have medication to assist neutralize anxiety attacks, but if I take my medication and it still beyond me, I do have emergency doctors who I can contact and where they can assist me to deal with whatever the situation may be. So it's all about what works for you. Again, mental health is not a one size fits all. It will never be, because I have anxiety and you have anxiety, but it's not on the same spectrum, it's not on the same level, and also the cause of the anxiety is not the same. It will never be the same. So how you receive things is not the same way I'm gonna receive things. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It's not a one size fits all. It's all about what can you do to sort of manage it, and you need to figure it's painful, it sucks, but you have to take initiative to figure it out. As I said, it's a lonely road, especially if you don't have the good support around you. You just have to find your mojo, man. You really do, and it takes time. It's not like I'm not gonna act like I'm sitting here and I'm so well knowledgeable about it, but I mean, something could make me crash when I'm done with this interview, do you get what I'm saying? You could change things. So you just need to find what works best for you. All the time.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's ignorance from other people. Sometimes it's just generally not being educated about it, and people don't know how to handle it because they've never had to deal with someone who's depressed or anxious or has any type of mental health disorder, But I get judged, labeled all the time, I don't live through my mental health. I'm not Aphinda, the bipolar girl. No, I'm just Aphinda, who happens to have the bipolar disorder. Do you get what I'm saying? So I really do get a lot of stigmas, and I'll tell you one thing. There was a time where I met a guy, and I said to him, at that time I was going through therapy, so I was an out of hospital patient. So for 2 weeks, I did a 2 weeks course, but I would sleep at home, but go to the hospital every day and be admitted, then discharged at the end of the day, like that. And then when I told him, he's like, I've been trying to get a hold of you the whole day. Where have you been? I'm like, I'm inside hospital. He says, is something okay? Like, is a family member? I'm like, no, it's me. I just need help. He said, need help with what? I'm like, I've got bipolar disorder. I'm just trying to manage it. And he just dropped the call.
You never heard from him?
I've never heard from him ever again. And I've had people do that as well, when you're having conversations in a group of people and you say, I've got bipolar, and how I deal with A, B, C, D, they'll be like,
they draw back.
They draw back because they expect you to lose your mind instantly. They expect you to react, and they expect you to have a manic episode. They expect you to be delusional, or they expect to see you having hallucinations, and that's not the case, So I try my best to educate anyone that I can that it's like me saying that I've got. It's not like having the flu. It's not something that you can see. Okay, this person's coughing, they've got a runny nose, they possibly have a cold or whatever the case is. It's not something that's written on your face or on a t-shirt. You get what I'm saying? So people don't know until you open your mouth. But the moment you open your mouth, again, that's why I say it's so tough to distinguish if is it ignorance or just plain not being educated about it and not knowing how to deal with that. And some people, when I say to them, oh no, it's because I've got bipolar. You know, when I'm trying to explain something, they'll be like, oh, shame. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Shame what? It's not a
not a
shame. It
yeah.
is what it is. You get what I'm saying? For
Yes.
example, I have a child who's autistic as well.
Yes.
When he acts a certain way and people say, is your child okay? And then I say, oh no, he's just autistic. They're like, oh shame, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Huh? Why are you sorry for my child?
Yeah.
Why are you sorry for me being alive and
Exactly.
being who I am? You know.
Yeah.
So those are the stigmas that you get. They do get to you in the beginning, but if you can again find your mojo, how to deal with it, how to withdraw yourself, how to distinguish, okay, this person is just being ignorant, or this person is really just not educated in this department of mental health, and then you can maneuver the conversation. But when you get to that level of being able to tell the two, you just remove yourself from situations and you keep it going for the sake of your own sanity. To get what I'm saying? Because somebody might have the stigma on you and they're going to treat you a specific way, and then they're going to be like, oh yeah, but don't forget she's bipolar, oh don't make her too angry. It's like, no, I think it's pretty healthy. I'm a normal person, and it's okay if I get angry, and if I do get angry or if I do get sad or depressed, I know what to do. I know what tune to channel to be able to deal with and manage and so forth. So stigma is a thing that I really do experience on a daily basis. People, the first thing people think that you are automatically and instantly going to show signs of you losing your mind, and that's not the case. Two words: be kind. That's it. Be kind. Because it's not always mental health that somebody is going through. Sometimes it's grief. Sometimes it's loneliness. Sometimes it's losing a job.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's disappointment. It can be basic day-to-day emotions or things that happen to us. Just be kind.
Yeah.
That's the first step. Because I don't know what you're going through. You're sitting in front of me, but I don't know if you had breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
You don't know if I had breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? You can never confirm anything from anyone until they open their mouths and they confide in you and they tell you what's going on. So my one thing is just be kind. It takes nothing. If you think about it, being kind is like a candle. It takes nothing for one candle to light another candle.
Yeah.
For another candle to light another, light another, light another, light another, another. Being kind doesn't affect anything of your fiber being. If anything, it's more on the positive side of it all. Just being considerate and not just being a rude person. So the first thing we can do is just be kind and listen to understand, not to respond or not to react. Listen to understand. I think we would go far with anything in life, not just mental health illness, if we were just kind to one another. I don't know you, you don't know me, so good morning. That's it. So there's a lot to go. I mean, there's a lot to think of, or there's a lot to consider in terms of managing a mental health disorder, because we're not just addressing bipolar just because I'm bipolar. People are schizophrenic as well. You know, people experience dementia. Some people experience all different kinds of mental health issues like depression and so forth. So which with each diagnosis has its own treatment. You cannot put a schizophrenic person on an antidepressant and expect it to work. Schizophrenia is a little bit more of a higher spectrum of a mental health disorder than a depression. So with treatment, you need to be well diagnosed. And when I say well diagnosed, you really need to invest into this and make sure that you see a psychiatrist, not a psychologist.
Yeah.
Because a psychiatrist can diagnose a mental health disorder and treat it with medication, or if you refuse to take medication, there are other ways, which is then therapy and whatever they would suggest you, whichever route they suggest you take if you don't want medication. But medication is always the first angle that is explored. Reason being is because medication sort of suppresses the mania
Yeah.
and the depression.
Yeah.
So specifically with bipolar disorder, we don't have an easy flow in life. It's either it's up or it's down. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have a mania, and the mania can be a good thing, meaning that I've got all the energy on earth. You know, I'm so positive. I can keep going. But actually, you're not being positive.
Yeah.
You are running on a red ball that's about to deplete at some point, and then when you crash instantly. Also, it can take one person saying one thing to you. It can take one event. It can take something as silly as somebody cutting you off in traffic to push you straight into a depression. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when it comes to treatment, the medication comes in at the top and at the bottom, and it pushes everything so that you can have an easy flow like the average person would.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the treatment. Management, therapy. In my own specific experience, I highly recommend therapy because there's only so much that medication can do. Because another thing that I experienced with medication is that it suppressed so much, I felt like a zombie.
Yeah.
And that wasn't me. I don't have a zombie personality. I'm very outgoing. I'm daring. You get what I'm saying? So I felt that I was no longer myself with the medication. So that's when you speak to a psychiatrist and say, listen, how's about we start cutting back on some medication and we find an alternative? Then the alternative is therapy, which means that you're in therapy every month if need be. But then again, it depends on the spectrum that you are on. So therapy helps. And then the more you talk about it, the more you find out what makes me tick, what brings me down to a low, what gives me a high. When you can identify those things on your day-to-day living basis, it becomes better. For example, if you are living next to a noisy neighbor and that aggravates you, the solution is to just pack your bags and move. I mean, I say it seems like something simple to do, but you'd find that just on your day-to-day living, the smallest things count. If somebody you're living with bugs you out, it's just as simple as at this time when it's 7 o'clock, I'm going to be in my room. I need my alone time. I need to be quiet. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you need to, with management, you need to find what works best for you. I can never tell the next person who's in depression or who's having anxiety disorders how to go about living their lives. It's a trial and error. It's like skin products. You try all of them until you find the best suitable product for you. So that's how treatment and management goes. Another thing is that treatment in terms of medication is not affordable. I will not lie. Again, I am very blessed and privileged to be able to have things like medical aid that can pay for those things, because on a monthly basis, one day I used to take 6 tablets a day, and that costed, and those tablets needed to be renewed every 30 days, and that was about 1,200 rand.
That's a lot
and
of
that's
money.
a lot of money per month on medication.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're having a bad time, and then they need to increase your dosages. And the higher the dosage, the higher the price of the medication, so that it's not affordable at the same time.
Yes.
So it's a very tricky situation. Treatment and management, it's the core of dealing with mental health issues, but it can be very expensive. Another thing that is so unfortunate is that South Africa does not have, they claim to have psychiatric hospitals, government or public psychiatric hospitals. They don't. The only ones they have is Vryskoppies in Pretoria, and that is for serious cases where people have serious dementia, serious schizophrenia. Do you get what I'm saying? Serious maniac disorders and so forth. It's said that in South Africa the situation has to be bad before they can start treatment. And usually by that time, I don't want to say it's too late, but it becomes very tricky to deal with somebody who's on a manic episode every day. So yeah, that's, in my own experience, that's how I went about treatment and management and so forth. Family and friends who refuse to back down on you.
Okay.
Because I said it's a lonely road,
It's a lot.
and
Yeah.
especially for me being the first person in my family to actually actively deal with it and tell people that no, it's okay to have a mental health disorder.
Yeah.
It's fine, and we're all going to figure it out together. We're not going to be biased about it. We're all going to learn through me. So I'm the chosen one, if I can say, to be the first person in my family to make this a normal thing.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So family, friends is the biggest support that I've got, as well as my doctors. I cannot emphasize how blessed I really am to be privileged enough to have that kind of a resource of doctors. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My situation was very, very critical and bad. I have 3 doctors. I have a general practitioner who is also well informed and aware about mental health. I've got a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Do you get what I'm saying? So I've got 3 people
Yeah.
working with each other just to make sure that my mind is okay. And that is nothing but a blessing to be able to have that kind of a resource. And for people who don't have those resources, it's so difficult to try and find the right person to talk to, because also they could be steering you in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But I do know that in terms of public work, there are social workers at the local clinics and so forth. That's a good start.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you cannot trust, or you're skeptical about a friend or a family member or a priest or so forth, literally go to a general practitioner and start there.
Yes.
Because general practitioners, when they study medicine, they study psychiatry. Psychiatry is I don't know if I'm saying a module is what they do, if it's a module, but psychiatry is something that they have to focus on.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Before you graduate, and then you're oathed into being a doctor and so forth. So if you are if your resources are limited, I always say just go straight to a general practitioner or a social worker at your local clinic, and just, because another thing is that I've seen that it's easier to talk to someone that you don't know than someone that you do know.
Yes.
Because when you talk to someone that you do know, you have that anxiety of what if they go and they tell somebody else, and then they tell somebody else, and everybody knows my business. Because when you don't know what's going on with you until you're diagnosed, it's something that it's not that it's a secret, but you want to keep it to yourself until you fully understand it before you can make it public and be free to speak about it. Do you know what I'm saying? I myself didn't want people to know that I was diagnosed with bipolar, because how am I going to explain it to you when I don't even know how to handle myself?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. As I said previously, public psychological help, it doesn't exist in South Africa.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. Because if you Google psychologists, they're all private.
Yeah.
They're all practicing privately.
Yeah.
And to see a psychologist, at minimum, it costs you 900 Rand per session. A session is 1 hour. There's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, 900 Rand to some people might seem like, oh, okay, I can afford it.
Yeah.
But for somebody who is just living the average life or below average, it's a very scarce thing. To get what I'm saying? So I really wish there was a way where it can be available publicly to the public. You know, I'm not going to get into politics too much, otherwise I might say the wrong thing and be hated. But my biggest wish is just so that if it's not available in a public way, at least in some form of an affordable way.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, I think it would be a great idea if there was a psychologist one or two at each local clinic,
Yes.
where you go and you see the psychologist,
Yeah.
and then the psychologist suspects that you've got depression and so forth,
Yeah.
and then you get some sort of a what can I say? You get sent to a network of private psychologists,
Yeah.
where they are paid by the government
Yeah.
to treat the public.
Oh, right.
That would
Makes
be
sense.
a dream,
Yeah.
because it would solve a lot of problems in South Africa. Because such things, I'm going to use unemployment as an example. It's
Yeah.
a very touchy subject,
Yeah.
but unemployment can get to you. I know it myself. There was a time where I wasn't employed. I wasn't employed for some time, but because I had the resources that I had some momentum, I had some support to say, but you can do something for yourself in the meantime. There is a way that you can make an income. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some people don't even have a person to spark that slightest idea in their head. They just sit there, they're unemployed, they get depressed, and then we have problems of drugs and you know how it goes. It's a whole different topic on its own. So I would really love to see a network where people can go to their local clinic, and where they can be somewhat diagnosed and sent to a network of psychiatrists and psychologists that they know that this patient is they're going to be paid for by the government. It would change the game in South Africa. I don't know if the camera can see this, right? So this is a scar, right? This is one of the times I tried to commit suicide. And if you can see that this is a plaster, right? So I got a plaster tattooed over the scar as a reminder that doesn't matter what you deal with, you can always heal. And that's the case. If you think about it, when you have a fever, what do? You medicate yourself.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself, and you
Yeah.
nurse yourself back to health.
Yes.
So this is just my reminder or significant
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I really do want to share with other people that it sucks in the beginning, and you're going to lose your mind. You're going to feel like you're losing
Yeah.
your mind.
Yeah.
You're not going to feel yourself. You don't know if you're coming or you're going. But it really does get better. It doesn't seem like it in the beginning. I know it's such a cliche thing to say, but trust me, it's been 5 years of the same damn nonsense every year. But every year I come through, and it's a new story to tell. It's a better testimony to share. Do you get what I'm saying? So if I had a message for people, is remember I said we just need to be kind. You need to be kind to yourself. If you cannot do it that day,
Yeah.
don't force yourself to do it.
Yeah.
You need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You need to, before you can even do anything, you need to self-soothe, self-love, and self-care Sundays.
Yeah.
If self-care Sundays, putting on a mask or whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever it means for you to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
that is the first step you need to do. If it means that you need to be alone for some time, that's okay, but don't be alone for too long.
Yeah.
Reach out. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do something that you feel like is going to get you back into some sort of a good mood. So be kind, yes, to others, but be kind to yourself. Give yourself some slack, man. It's a tough world. It sucks out there. The last thing you need to do is to be putting yourself down just because of one little obstacle course. Sorry. Oh, my little sunshine.
Oh.
Sunshine is my child. His name is Sunshine.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
He's
Sunshine.
by Sunshine,
Yeah.
really. There was a time where I was really depressed, and he could see that this is not my mom, and
Yeah.
that's why I had to consciously, I removed myself from him. I had to protect him from me.
Yeah.
You know, I had to go to psych hospital many times for the sake of keeping that sunshine shining.
Yes.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's the one thing that drives me. That I don't know about other people, but I parent intentionally. I'm a mother intentionally. I wanted to be a mother, and I am a mother. You know, so yeah, that's the one thing that gives me joy. But I must not put it above God.
Yeah.
I cannot
Yeah.
put the love I have for Him
Yeah.
over God.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer in God, and sometimes God is quiet, and God can keep quiet, eh?
Yeah.
God can keep His mouth shut and not say a single thing and not move anything at all.
Yeah.
But it's just the faith you need to have in God. I speak as a Christian.
Yeah.
It could be something else for another person, but from a Christian's point of view,
Yeah.
I don't want to say it can only be God.
Yeah.
It only is God.
Yeah.
That is my thing.
Yeah.
It's God.
Yeah.
Because yes, you know, they're atheists. No, there's a higher power, but it's not enough. For me, that's all it is, and that's how I'm going to begin my day. That's how I'm going to end my day.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not scared if I am in a situation and I am scared to be like, hey, God, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So one thing that brings me joy is God,
Yeah.
and for the fact that He has provided me with such a good life, such a blessed life, to have such amazing people in my life, you know, and He has been able to discern and say, not this one, but that one, not
Yeah.
this, but that. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
Yes.
more than anything, just submitting yourself to God, everything just falls into place. Obviously, not in our time, but in God's time, the way things fall into place when you let God take over. There's a saying that says, when you're on a bus, you relax until you get to your destination.
Yeah.
When you're on an airplane, you relax until you get to your destination. When you're on a train,
Yeah.
you relax. You don't know the driver,
Yeah.
you don't know the train conductor, you don't know the pilot, but you relax.
Yeah.
And you know that you're going to get to where you're getting to. So why can't you do the same with God? Why can't you just let Him do what He does best?
Yeah.
Let God God
Yeah.
the way He wants to God.
Yeah.
Another thing that goes with God is prayer. You know, we can put our trust in God and so forth, but it doesn't mean anything if you trust God if you don't talk to God.
Okay.
If you don't get down on your knees or
Yeah.
sit or however it is that you
Yeah.
pray. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense that, okay, I'm going to trust God, but you don't talk to God.
Yeah.
And a prayer is not only our Father who art in heaven.
Yeah.
A prayer is, you know what, God? Remember yesterday? And then
Yeah.
that wasn't good.
Yeah.
But let's try to fix that.
Yeah.
You know, I have a grandmother. When she prays, everybody thinks she's awkward for praying like this. And for some time, people would try and make her not pray because of the way she prays. But this is how she prays. Father God, thank you for today. You know, today was such a beautiful day. And you guys so mandla sisilapha sonke singumndeni sixhasene kumandi akumandi. That's how she prays, because that's her personality and that's who she is. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is, prayer shouldn't be such a formal act. A prayer is a conversation between you and God. It is a conversation of request.
Yeah.
It's a conversation of gratitude.
Yeah.
It's a conversation of mercy, you know, of grace, and just being vulnerable to God and saying, okay, you know what? You know, they always say, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Saying something like that, like, Jesus, take the wheel. That's a prayer. Do you get what I'm saying? So believing in God is one thing, but prayer and conversations with God is an even better thing. Do you get what I'm saying? Because the more you pray, the more you are able to discern, the more you are able to, most importantly, hear God when He answers you.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Because I know when, how to listen for God's voice. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because something funny happened recently. I spoke to God. I was like, God, you know what? Hang on. Wait a minute. So remember that other time when we said ABCD, you know,
Yeah.
and I spoke it into existence.
Yeah.
I was specific about my prayer. I was specific about my request. And when I got home, I opened my Bible and I read my Bible and I looked. I have an amplified Bible where at the back of the Bible it's got if you search for the word love, it gives you a lot of scriptures and segments where you can find where the Bible speaks about love.
Yeah.
So also it's great if you have an amplified version Bible like that. So I went to my Bible and I paged through. I'm like, okay, now I'm looking for something like this, and I prayed about it, and you'll never believe it. Just 2 days later, God was like,
There it is.
ta-da.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was able to know that this is God. It's not, because sometimes the devil can also try to, mess up the things. But being able to pray and be confident in your prayer and be confident that an answer will arise from that prayer. Hey, my name is Aphinda M. Thank you so much to Active On Demand for having me and doing this talk. It's very important that we have these tough conversations and we help each other out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, switch on notifications, follow on all social media platforms, because this is not a movement, people. This is how we're going to heal the world.